Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Visions.
Difficulties. Sorry about that. Like I told you guys, it's just me. So if any technical difficulties happen, yeah, they just happen. They just happen. And we just kind of roll with the punches here at Unfiltered Vision News. So good morning and thank you so much for joining us. We're going to start with honoring God with our bodies. So let's get to that. And God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect our ears and help us listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, please set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect our reproductive organs and help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And that is something that I do try to remember every morning. Sometimes I don't. I'm trying to get better. Um, I just get excited about the news and I want to get straight into it. And it's like, nope, you got to start off. You got to start off with some grounding. This is like I like to say. But with that, I wanted to start with some topics on X that I came across, the trending topics. And, they might be in my feed, they might be in yours, I'm not sure. But let's check this out. So this first one is Glenn Beck. Add this to the stage so you guys can see it. And it says the DOJ is moving to shut down the first race based reparations program in America. A town in Illinois has been handing out $25,000 checks in part to descendants of Black residents who had suffered housing discrimination in the city between 1919 and 1969. And I want to say Deleon, she's a part of the DOJ. She explains why the DOJ believes this is unconstitutional. Now, this law is talking about making people whole for stuff that happened 5 generations ago. My mom was a refugee. Should I be getting reparations from the British for that? And that's Glenn Beck. Now, 5 generations would be 500 years. They're only talking about things that happened over the past 50 years. So what are you talking about? I'm just saying, I'm like, Glenn, you're being a little hyperbolic. Nobody's going back 5 generations because again, you would have to account for at least somebody living 70 to 80 years times 5. You're talking about over 500 years. They're just talking about 50 years. People are still alive right now who may have suffered. So let's get into it, right? So it says, I think it is illegal in today's day and age to take tax dollars from all taxpayers and hand them to a protected class who did not suffer discrimination themselves. So we're a protected class, huh? It's really interesting, right? That's ridiculous and it's un-American. Okay. It's breaking the Civil Rights Act. It's breaking equal protection. It's fundamentally at odds with our Constitution to treat people differently on the basis of race. That's what's happening here. Well, Glenn. Oh, good morning, Sensoril. And she says, good morning, founder. Have a wonderful Juneteenth weekend. Thank you. And to you as well. So let's just go back a little bit because here's the thing. Civil rights created a permanent underclass in this country. It did. And now you're mad because the people that are like, hey, you did create these civil rights for me. Hey, I've been damaged. Now I want to exercise my right to challenge, right? Because everybody in this country does have the right to challenge the government and said, hey, you did these things and I was harmed by them. We just did this whole weaponization fund, right? Where it literally says anyone who has been or feels that they have been defrauded by the government or harmed by the government has the right to apply through this weaponization fund. All right. Now that weaponization fund just happened like a couple months ago. Civil rights happened well over 50 years ago because it was 1965. So it was a while ago, a minute. And you're trying to juxtapose that with talking about 5 generations. Like, Glenn, I need you to stop and get it together. This is an interesting conversation.
Being reported, DOJ trying to halt the first U.S. reparations program for Black people. The federal government said they asked a judge to halt the United States' first reparations program offered Black people in a small Illinois city $25,000 for 20th century race-based housing discrimination. Joining an existing lawsuit, blah, 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 is the first and only of its kind in the U.S., allotting $20 million to Black residents to their direct descendants who lived in the city between 1919 and 1969 suffered housing discrimination because of city ordinances, policies, or practices. The city has already distributed over $7 million, blah, blah, blah. Why is this illegal? Or why do you hate Black people so much?
It's illegal. I love all Americans. All Americans are entitled to civil rights. And that is kind of our default position in this government. People find it radical, frankly, what I'm saying, that all Americans are entitled to equal protection of the laws and equal civil rights. So it's not that small a city. Evanston, Illinois is 75,000 population. And this law is talking about making people whole for stuff that happened 5 generations ago. Like, I wish, my mom was a refugee,
Okay, and didn't say 5 generations. It's 50 years. It's not 5 generations. It's 50 years. I just want to clear that up.
Should I be getting reparations from the British for that? Arguably perhaps, but it was a long time ago. And I think it is illegal in today's day and age to take tax dollars from all taxpayers and hand them to a protected class who did not suffer discrimination themselves, to be very clear. This law is like if your parents lived in this city and during a time period 100 to 50 years ago, or 120 to 50 years ago, we're going to assume that you suffered discrimination and we're going to pay you on the basis of that. That's ridiculous, and it's un-American. It's pitting people against each other. You can imagine what kind of record-keeping shenanigans there are going to be for people to make these claims.
But what law is it breaking?
It's breaking the Civil Rights Act. It's breaking equal protection. It's fundamentally at odds with our Constitution to treat people differently on the basis of race. That's what's happening here. They're giving away money.
I'm sorry that I keep stopping her. Ma'am, I know you are a very well-trained attorney. Obviously, you work for the DOJ. You did your thing. But when it comes to civil rights, what I think you don't understand is, first of all, it was put in place in 1866. The Voting Rights Act happened in 1965. And they're two different things. So the one from 1866 actually did give those who were emancipated, who had been formerly enslaved, rights in this country, which is ridiculous because we had a Bill of Rights that had already been adopted into the Constitution by that time that said all men are created equal. But the founding fathers decided to still put in civil rights to create a permanent underclass of people. And you go, it's violating the civil rights. How? Civil rights were specifically put in place for emancipated slaves and their descendants. It's not separate. What are you talking about? And this is where I go, okay, you need to sit down and pick up a book. You really need to study this out. Because if you had, you would have probably come across something that I did, which was Senate Bill 9 under the 39th Congress in this country, where it did say that you cannot harm those who had been emancipated in any way. Yes, we are a protected class of people because we are the only descendants from people who were brutally harmed in this country. And they're like, you know what? We have to create some protections around them because people are not naturally going to protect them because they naturally felt that they could defile them in any way, in harmful, horrible ways. Should I bring up some pictures of people burned alive while people are standing behind them smiling? That happened on this soil. I'm not going to be able to get through a 3-minute video. I am 12 minutes into my show. It's a mess. But I have to keep stopping to stop the nonsense. Stop. I'm going to let it finish.
If you are one, Black, and two are a subset of Black, and can prove that your ancestors lived in the city during a time period, there's no rational reason for that. And any kind of race-based classification system is subject to strict scrutiny under our constitutional analysis. This cannot survive strict scrutiny because it does not remedy some current issue where there's discrimination based on race currently. And all the Supreme Court precedents in recent years have moved away from this affirmative action / DEI lens of looking at things based on past discrimination, and the focus is on current discrimination. So yes, if someone denies you housing today because you're Black, you absolutely should sue. You should contact me because I'll be happy to take up that lawsuit for you. Right. But if it happened 100 years ago, the clock has run on that. I'm sorry. It is time for people today to live on their own merits.
It's interesting because here it says descendants of Black Americans. Black is not a race. We're Negroes. We are an ethnicity. That's who we are, period. But they'll say, well, it's race. No, it's ethnicity. We're descendants. We come from somewhere. And we're not just this color of people. Stop that. Stop. It's weird. All right, moving on. Okay, so wow, the Texas Rangers are the one and only MLB team refusing to host a Pride Night. They are actually running a faith and family night this week. Wow, okay. The Rangers are the only team in the MLB who does not All right. All right. So let's give it up. This is Mighty Men Thursday. So let's give it up for our mighty men of the Rangers. And let's check out this short clip.
Rangers are the only team in Major League Baseball that does not host a Pride Night. This week, they're hosting Faith and Family Night instead. And Florida's Attorney General, posting on X, MLB will be hearing from his office soon. Harris, Bob. So, the Rangers are the only team in Major League.
You're not going to succumb to the mob. Good for you. That's what I'm talking about. Mighty Men Thursday. I like it. I like it. And I also wanted to play this short clip on Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is coming up, but there's a big problem because most people think Juneteenth colors are red, black, and green. But that's not Juneteenth, that's Pan-African. And I know this might sound wild, but stay with me because by the end of this, you're going to look at Juneteenth completely different. Juneteenth is not an African holiday. It is an American holiday. It is the day that enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, found out they were free right here on this soil in this country. And Juneteenth became an official United States federal holiday in June of 2021. So Juneteenth actually has its own flag, and most people have never seen it. It's red, white, and blue with a star in the center and a burst around it. The star has a dual meaning. One, it represents Texas, the Lone Star State, and it also represents the freedom of foundational Black Americans across all 50 states. The burst around it represents a new beginning, the birth of a new day, and a fresh start for newly free people. The same colors as the American flag, because the message is clear. Our freedom is American history, not borrowed from somewhere else. A foundational Black American who is a community organizer and activist named Ben Hay designed the flag in 1997 because he believed that Juneteenth deserved a symbol that told the truth about what the holiday actually is. This Juneteenth, don't let corporate America tell you how to represent our foundational Black American holiday. And let me know in the comments, did you know this already?
Yeah, a lot of us don't. A lot of us see the red and green. I was like, I've seen red, yellow, and green. I was like, oh, what are you talking about? This is an American holiday. I don't know whose colors those are, but that's not us. Okay, red, white, and blue, as she said. And we actually have a specific flag for Juneteenth. It's very specific. If you're going to celebrate it, know what you're celebrating. That's all I'm saying. Just don't do things blindly because you can get the day off. You know, it's that part. So mass arrests have been reported. The DOJ has charged 324 defendants, including 96 medical professionals across 50 federal districts and 12 state attorney general offices. In connection with healthcare fraud schemes involving over $14.6 billion in alleged losses.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Gagliotti, and I'm the head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. Thank you all for joining us today as we announce the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in the history of the Department of Justice. Today marks a decisive moment in our fight to protect American taxpayers from fraudsters and to defend the integrity of America's healthcare system. We are announcing today charges against 324 defendants for their alleged participation in healthcare fraud schemes involving approximately $14.6 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs.
Wow.
Good morning, everyone.
That's a lot of money. Just saying. So I put it through Grok and I just wanted a little bit more detail, right? So we got 324 defendants charged. 96 of them are, so of the 324, 96 of them are medical professionals, so doctors, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, or other licensed providers. 14.6 billion is alleged, right, in intended losses. And the cases span 50 federal districts. Wow. Covering most of the U.S., 12 state attorney general offices, involves coordination among federal agencies, right? So DOJ, HHS, OIG, FBI, DEA, et cetera, and state partners So over 245 million in assets seized, cash, luxury vehicles, etc., and additional actions like blocking 4 billion in fraudulent payments and suspending providers. So types of charges and schemes: submitting false claims for unnecessary or non-existent services, telemedicine fraud, opioid trafficking, pill mills, and illegal drug diversion. Over 15 million pills mentioned in some reports, transnational elements in some cases, kickback monies, laundering, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud and related schemes. So these are federal criminal charges: healthcare fraud, false claims, wire fraud, etc., often carrying significant prison time, fines, restitution. Individual cases would have specific counts filed in their specific districts. Right. This is a broad, coordinated national effort rather than a single state or localized fraud ring. And that's what I was trying to find out, because as we've heard, there's Minnesota and California. Those are two of the main states that people do bring up because there's a lot of fraud that happened even outside. And this is just specifically, in some cases, just for the Medi-Cal, right? Like, this is just the healthcare part. What about there's other stuff. That's just the healthcare. That's what I want people to know. This isn't like everything. This is just the healthcare piece. Because we've already heard about, and I'll use Minnesota or Missouri, sorry, as an example, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, yeah. Minneapolis, Minnesota, I've said it backwards, sorry. The city and state, yeah, Minneapolis, Minnesota, okay. Sorry, I was like, let me get that correct. So there was the daycares, right, that they were looking at, allegedly billing for things. There was the other one that they found, Feeding Our Future. So that was something else, because during COVID, they opened it up so that other nonprofit organizations could help feed children, since a lot of the schools were closed, right? And the schools weren't operating. So you look at that and like, okay, that's just that. This is something else. They haven't even gotten to some other fraud to be investigated within California. And I'm talking about the rail system. How do you have billions of dollars and there's barely been any rail laid? Nobody's traveling on these tracks because it's not even developed. But we have a whole monorail system at Disney, which is in California. But you can't build the same system? Okay. Got it. It's just very, very fascinating. And then I came across this one, which was interesting. And I'm like, okay, CNN. I'm not gonna play the video, but I'm like, really? It says CNN stunned as bombshell poll reveals that Democrats hate America. Okay. Only 27% of Democrats will fly the American flag on July 4th, compared to 64% of Republicans. Only 29% of Democrats are extremely proud to be an American, compared to 90% of Republicans. Only 24% of Democrats want to celebrate America as a priority on July 4th, compared to 65% of Republicans. And here's the thing: an American is American regardless of their party. But of course, we got to keep the flames of hatred stoking. There are people that do appreciate being here in this country. And the other part of it is, people, unfortunately, are brokenhearted by the hatred that they still see in this country. And I think because of that, they feel it hard to take pride in this country, right? Because they're looking around and they're like, well, y'all are you just don't seem like nice people, right? You just seem hateful. Everywhere I look, there's hatred, which isn't true. That's hyperbolic, right? So you have to take the bitter with the sweet. And I look at it like this way: is the United States perfect? No, because imperfect people live here. So it's never going to be a perfect place. But is it better than most places on the planet? Yes. Can we make it better? Yes. But I'm talking about all of us individually, have to make an individual effort to make it better, one person at a time, right? Because multiplication is great. But if we or an individual decides, well, I'm just going to make it as bad as I can for the other people around me, then yeah, it's going to be bad. Make your choice. No, none of us are perfect. But it is up to us individually to make sure that this United States remains that way. It does not rest on just one singular person, place. It doesn't. It doesn't reside in Washington for them to make it a better place. It doesn't reside in your state government to make it a better place. It does not reside in your local government to make it a better place. It resides in you. So take some personal responsibility and make sure if this is your home, take care of it and the people around you. That's it. That's what we're doing. Now, I wanted to get back to that whole the HUD situation because yes, the HUD, an established process for individuals, there is a way for them to file discrimination complaints. Because I did kind of ask about that video, like, is there something? Yes, there is. But generally, you have 1 year from the alleged discriminatory act to file. So time limits are important. So if they're talking about something that happened over a 50-year period, even if it's a 50-year period, right? So what, I haven't really looked at the actual case, but I'm pretty sure they're probably looking at redlining and the practices that were specifically put in place to maybe make sure that American Negroes were not properly given these same opportunities as others, right? I'll just, for sake of argument. Right. So the ex post, it discusses the DOJ 25,000 payments tied to past housing discrimination between 1919 and 1969 for descendants. This involves debates over race-based programs. So it's kind of weird because you say descendant in one place and then you say race in another. You got to pick a lane because you're talking about two different things. Descendants aren't a race of people. Descendants are descended from people. The whole race game that we play in this country of black and white, it's a caste system. And they have basically said, okay, the ones that are darker skinned, the ones that are black, that we consider black, are going to be lower, and the ones that are white are going to be higher. It is what it is. I can pull you up a case that actually talks about that. I won't get into it right now, but that's how the game has been played. That's how the game has been set up. I don't think we saw 5 different drinking fountains. There were only 2. There was one for white and there was one for black. That was it. So you created a caste system. And then within that system, you said, okay, you descendant slaves, you need to live. So are we descendants? Are we a race? And that's where it comes into. We are descendants of people. The race part needs to be eliminated. Because at the same time, and this is interesting about this new administration, because you talk out of both sides of your neck. You want people to be treated fairly based on being descendants, but then you want to throw in, well, you can't do race. Well, what are you talking about? If I'm a descendant, it has nothing to do with race. You need to pick a lane, and you need to really decide what the argument is. So I wanted to get a status on the issue. And pretty much the DOJ is involved because the challenge is in federal court, right? And alleges violations of federal law, the U.S. Constitution, and the Fair Housing Act, not just purely state and local issues. So it's kind of beyond that, right? So it's a federal lawsuit, Finn versus the city of Evanston, right? And what it says it was filed by non-Black residents. So that means people who are not, they're not Black residents and they're not descendants. So they're not, they're not Negroes. Okay, that's who they're not. Who claim the program unconstitutionally excludes them based on race. So who are we talking about? I'm gonna let it alone. I'm gonna leave the links for you guys though, so you can further get into this. But do you see how silly race gets? It does. It gets silly. And that's why a lot of people are talking about delineation. and really understanding who you are. There are a lot of people that are here that are, I just say they're Caucasian, right? But I mean, you can't even really classify them as Caucasian because they might be from Germany or Italy, France, right? You are an ethnicity of people. But when you turn around and you go to the American Negro, which is me, but you're Black. No, I am a Negro. But that word does translate to Black. It does. But I prefer Negro because that's what's on my birth certificate. And people before me. It wasn't until 1973 that they actually changed it to African American. It had been Negro before. So I know ethnically who I am in this story, which is a part of American history. So with that, we will end our broadcast for this morning. But thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. We'll be back tomorrow for Prayer with Friday so we can pray about all of these things that have been discussed on the show this week. And so remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.